I'm Bill Fitzhugh from the Arctic Studies Center in the Department of Anthropology. I've been here since Kingdom Come, almost. So I don't want to actually tell you when I started. Well, I will. I started in 1970, and it's been the most amazing time of my life all the way through. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about some work we're doing in the Gulf of St. Lawrence on Eskimo prehistory and contact with the Basques. And this first slide just shows the underwater site where we have Basque material underwater, and on land we have a Basque site that combines with Inuit habitation. It's the southernmost Inuit site or Eskimo site in the world, and it's the first Inuit site that we ever know in this continent that where Europeans and Inuit are actually collaborating. But before I do that, I want to just sort of mention the Arctic Studies Center programs. We have a circumpolar scope, and you see all the different researches and researchers that we work around the globe. This is a perspective that didn't used to be too common, but it's getting more common as we see less and less Arctic ice. This is a number of years ago when there was more Arctic ice. Over the years, we've done many exhibits. Our program has moved forward partly by research, but also by a lot of public communication, starting back in 1982 with many exhibits. The most recent big one was Vikings. We participated in the Sand Ocean Hall redesign, and here's our latest addition to get more anthropological content into that hall. It's a magnificent kayak built in Greenland, built for us by a Greenland kayaker. In 1993, we opened our office in Alaska, a regional office dedicated to what we call sharing knowledge and recovering voices. And in 1910, we opened, we operate the second floor of this museum. Aaron Kroll is our director, and you see him and the secretary there when that opened in 2010. It's a great program moving forward in many, many ways. So in Labrador, where I've been doing my research for a long time, since the late 60s, the geography is really interesting. We're on the border between the tundra and the forest, so it's a ecozone that's been occupied by Eskimos for 4,000 years and by Indians for 8,000 years. So our research has been looking at the shifts in these cultures back and forth over a period of 4,000 to 8,000 years. On the right, you see the Labrador Current bringing pack ice down, and this will become very important in what I say in a little bit about the southernmost distribution of Eskimos. That current comes down and brings ice into the Gulf of St. Lawrence and Newfoundland. Over the years, we've developed a very complicated prehistory of the Labrador coast, going back 8,000 years. On the right side of the slide, you see the Eskimo components, all these different cultures we've identified. On the left side, you see the Indians, and the jagged line in the middle marks the zone of where these cultures move back and forth, and that was the question, why? Is it climate, is it contacts or hostilities or whatever? And there are two different periods, the Grosswater period on the lower red star, and in the Inuit period on the top, where we have really large penetrations of Eskimos into the south, and I'll talk a little bit about the later Inuit occupation. So around 1500, the Inuit start moving down the coast of Labrador, coincident with a little ice age, and over the next couple of centuries, a big trading system developed where they went down and either raided or traded and brought goods back north and supplied ivory and baleen to the Europeans. The big question was how far did the Inuit actually occupy these lands, and these question marks mark those territories. These are areas that the Basques have been involved in since the early 1500s, and so they were very much involved with the Basques initially, but mostly in an antagonistic way, north of the Strait of Belle Isle. So we started surveying about 2001, and we've added all of these new Inuit sites to the northern Gulf of the St. Lawrence. That there had been a big argument about whether Inuit had actually ever occupied these areas permanently. We now have proven they have, with winter houses and settlements all along this coast during this time of the Little Ice Age. One of the sites we've worked on is Hare Harbor, and you see here the underwater component of the Hare Harbor site. Through the Smithsonian Dive Program, we've been diving down there with the University of Montreal, and we've recovered lots of wonderful materials underwater. You see some examples here. These lenticular rock piles are actually ballast piles from individual ships dumping their ballast, and it's a very interesting site with really great preservation underwater. On the land site, we have a combination on the left, Inuit houses, traditional 17th and 18th century style Inuit or Eskimo winter houses, and on the right-hand of the slide, Basque components. So we know these guys are actually living at the same time on the same site. In fact, some of the Inuit women seem to be operating a cookhouse or a bathhouse for the Basque sailors in that lower S1 area. The right-hand side is a Basque blacksmith shop. So and the same types of material culture are found in both of these components. So the Eskimo houses are filled with European materials, some of it modified in Inuit styles, such as you see the lower left-hand side, chipped bottle glass made into scrapers, which would be traditional in the Inuit life. And you see handmade lead, lumps of lead made into pocket knives on the lower right, sinkers, and all sorts of ceramics, which are typical of Basque, Iberian Basque culture. Underwater, we have these wonderful preservation. As I mentioned, we get levels with whalebone, followed by levels with fish bone, followed by levels with thick chipped wood, as though they're doing timber operations. But the fishing is particularly important. And all of the fish bone we're finding is 99% codfish bone prepared for the commercial markets in Europe. So it's not local subsistence. They're actually working with the Inuit to help to secure and process codfish, which are shipped into the European market on a yearly basis. Now, the rest of the year, when the Inuit are living down there, they have to live as Inuit, and that really depends on seals. And so you see here the massive harp seal migrations going down to whelp in the Gulf. And this is something that can only happen if there is ice in the Gulf of St. Lawrence. I've been working with Walter Adey, and this is work that Walter and his colleagues, Halfar and others in Canada, have done. On the right-hand slide, you see the decline of ice. This is a very large decline of ice. This is indicating this is based on coralline algae, which is sensitive to light penetration, and with less ice you get more light and more growth, and it indicates the decline of the ice. So we're using this as a model to explain the disappearance or appearance of Inuit in the south. It's providing whelping grounds for this southern seal population. So that's just a little snapshot of what the Arctic Studies Center does, and we continue to do our work, and we're finding all sorts of interesting ways now to feed back this kind of information to the Inuit and the Innu peoples, Indian and Eskimo peoples of Labrador. Not just research, but feeding all this research we've been doing for 3 or 4 decades back into the school systems so they can use this for economic development. So thank you very much, and I want to thank the museum for all this great support we've had over the years, and we hope to carry on. Thank you.